Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Spiders Sound Up. This is Tom.
And this is Porter.
And hey, yesterday, the women and men both went 1-0. Talking about the men's baseball team that beat James Madison 9-5.
Love it.
And the women's swimming and diving team opened up the Atlantic 10 championships with a 2 podium finishes. We got a gold medal in the 200 medley relay, and we broke our school record.
What?
Set in 2023. So shout out to the relay team. I'll probably get these names all wrong, but Hannah Wasorchik, Presley Baber, Elena Amare, and Julia Krychev.
How about that lacrosse team?
Oh, and then, yes, we got are they 5 in the nation now?
Mm-hmm. You know, I got a good buddy.
Well, before you get there, I just like how when we've been asked, are you going to talk about other sports? We're like, no. And then we're like, oh, boy.
Yeah,
this is our first week where the teams went 0-3 in between pods.
It's a gray day. If you're watching us online, you see my gray shirt. I don't break out the gray very often.
I grew up in a lacrosse town, so I had buddies of mine who were soccer players but better lacrosse players and went D1 places. But you've got a story?
I do. I was just talking to my good buddy Bill, who he worked with me for 30 or so years up in Northern Virginia, and he's a huge lacrosse guy. And I've
do you remember Mr. Bill, by the way, the old SNL skit?
I do not remember.
The little clay guy who would get run over?
Yeah, that clay guy. I remember.
We're calling Mr. Bill. Go ahead.
So Mr. Bill is a big lacrosse guy. He played lacrosse at Villanova way back in the day. Anyway, so I was just saying, hey, I need a couple sound bites because I don't want to talk basketball today. So give me something about lacrosse. And he said, first of all, years and years ago, when we first hired the Chamati guy, and again, I know nothing about lacrosse.
Chamati guy.
I'm just going to call him the Chamati guy, right? When we hired the Chamati guy, he said to me, I remember we were sitting in the office, he said, that's one of the best hires he's ever seen in lacrosse. And I didn't think much about it because I don't know anything about lacrosse. But anyway, 12 years later, however long it's been, you got this unbelievable coach in lacrosse, and he's doing great things. And Bill's hot take for me today was, we probably have a Final Four team on our hand, which is just super exciting to hear. So congrats to the lacrosse team.
Yeah, there was a podcast I saw that was about lacrosse. It was some national lacrosse guy who came to Richmond. He was doing a tour had one of our players take him through. And this was probably 3 months ago, but it's very interesting. The interviewer, it was entertaining. The lacrosse guy and some of his buddies at Rana were very entertaining as well. But he asked him so is Richmond a basketball school or a lacrosse school? And, of course, the lacrosse player said, it's a lacrosse school. Maybe we'll see that transition if we can be top 10. I know we've been kind of top 20 almost every year and often go to the NCAAs because we win the A10 championship. But it'd be great if we could then, get to that top 10 status and always be – sometimes we are favored, I think, playing UVA. Yeah. So it's – this is a great
this
change.
Team lost by 1 to Cornell twice last year. Cornell was the national championship. Cornell didn't lose by 1 to many people, if I recall, last year. Didn't beat many people by just 1 goal. So again, we're pretty impressive in lacrosse, and I think it's worth us shouting out a few minutes here on this pod to talk about the success that program is having, because we want to see a national championship, and we might just have a national championship team. It just happens to be in lacrosse.
Yep. Let's talk about what happened to this ladies team and the offense. Where did it go? So it pretty much didn't exist against George Mason at George Mason. And it didn't exist for 3 quarters at GW. And that was a quad 4 loss at GW.
I have a theory.
What's your theory?
Okay. So I don't know. You never really traveled much for a career. You were always sitting at a desk in front of
pretty
a
much,
computer.
yeah.
So I spent a lot of time on the road. And I was thinking back to my early 20s when I was on the road quite a bit. There's a difference between flying out for a meeting in one city, conducting the meeting or meetings, and then flying back home than what the ladies just went through. The ladies had to presumably fly to Charlotte, play a basketball game, which is very much in their normal routine. Then they either stayed overnight in Charlotte or they caught a night flight to D.C. So now they're traveling from City 1 to City 2. Neither are home, right? They have an overnight in D.C. Then they play a game 2 days after. So you're already dealing with a 48-hour compressed schedule, but you now are dealing with road travel. That's unusual. Then you probably stayed in D.C. for another night to play the next game against George Washington, right? So it's a very different travel motion. Now, let me tell you why I say that. I went to Thailand in 2019 with the wife. The wife's in much better shape than I am, as you know, right? She's just in really good shape. But I had to spend a career traveling the world, traveling all over the place. And so the 21 hours of flight time through Dubai, shout out to our Dubai listeners, by the way. You guys are moving up the rankings rapidly.
Yeah.
I'm like, who's listening to us?
Are we the
in
number
Dubai?
one spiders podcast in Dubai?
I don't know who's listening to us in Dubai, but we're moving up. We're moving up
keep
fast.
going.
Anyway, so we flew through Dubai, and then we went on to Thailand, and it was a 21 hours in the air. We were only in Thailand for 4 days. It was a company trip. So I say that because I was actually completely good as soon as we landed in Thailand to do my thing because I'm so used to travel. Now I'm 6'6" and I'm used to travel. So like I dealt with the plane. It was fine. My wife, who's in great shape, was not used to air travel. She had a really hard time adjusting to the conditions because, you know, if you're not used to travel and staying in different places, it wears you out. And there's a certain thing that wears you out. And we looked worn out for both of those games. That's all I'll say.
Well, while 0-2 is disappointing, well, at least, what was it? 6 months ago, we beat Virginia Tech in a secret scrimmage. That's one Porter likes bringing up as like something that was important.
Well, look, here's the thing too. Let me give you another nugget. So we're 42 in the net. So I know everybody's saying we're off now the at-large bubble. We're not going to.
Well, and Rhode Island lost too. They had their own quad 4 loss,
and they're 46 in the net.
Yeah.
So we're still both top 50. Am I predicting an at-large bid after the 2 losses? No, but it is still a possibility depending on everything else that happens between now and the end of the conference tournament across all the different conferences. So it's not a done deal. It's not a 50+%, but it's not a done deal that we could get an at-large.
Yeah, I think that outside chances we win the rest of our games and then lose in the finals to either probably Rhode Island or to George Mason or someone who's, maybe Davidson, someone who at least is, top 75 and we can be the second team in because that would include us beating Rhode Island.
Yeah, I would think it would need to go like this. We'd have to win the rest of our games, win the first 2 conference games against at least one good team, right? And then in the final, you lose by a point or 2 to I think it needs to be Rhode Island in the final if you're going to have a shot. And then even if all that happens, I think we're still like a 20% chance for now. Yeah, I don't think it's a 50%.
Well, the one thing I'll talk, there wasn't much to really talk about in the George Mason game. Like we just never got going. We did have a great fourth quarter last night. And unfortunately, overtime didn't work out. But I will say, the one thing that I thought would be more of an impact, and this is obviously a coach's decision, but there was a point in time, I think in the third, maybe it was the second, maybe 2 times, Anisha Scott came in, and she was great, confident. She had the basket to the lane. She had a great pass, and I was like, we're such a dud everywhere else. In my head, it was like she ought to play a lot in the later on this
Are you
game.
talking about Mason or Washington?
No, George Washington.
Okay,
yeah. There's nothing to talk about George Mason. We all stunk. I think
I would say Anisha Shot gave us a nice lift. It was nothing in the third period. She was actually showing some stuff. Here's what happened in the George Washington game. I actually have, and I know exactly what went wrong. Okay, the game started at 6 p.m. Eastern time. The team was in Adams Morgan until 7:30. Then they finally showed up at 7:30 p.m. and played 30 minutes a game. Because the first 90 minutes of that game, the first 3 periods, were not Spider women's basketball. They were not. They just were something completely else. I don't know what to make of it. It was just not Spider women's basketball.
Yeah, it was just weird to me that I think it was in the third. Anisha looked good. Ava came in at some point, hit a 3. And I'm like, these two look like they have energy. And everybody else looks like they're traveling to Thailand in a long flight. And so in my head, I was like, boy, it's going to be interesting when we get to the next quarter. Are we going to see a couple kind of regulars not playing because these two look like they're ready to go? And sure, if they went 0-3 in the fourth, it would have been like, okay, well, that's not working. But I was just surprised he didn't go back to that because that team, we were finding, Rachel, while she hasn't shot well, there were points in times where she was just not shooting either. She'd have an open 3, but when you go 2 for 8, at some point it was like, well, I'll kick it over to Sam. And we were just out of sorts. So that's the one disappointment I have. I think the coach has talked about this bench is going to be playing more and needing to play more, but he got into the fourth and was like, I'm going with my starting 5.
And the starting 5 had a great fourth. They looked like spider ball again. Yeah. And that was encouraging. So maybe we get through this little 2-game stint of terrible And look, George Mason is a tough game no matter what at George Mason. So I don't blame the ladies for losing that game. That's going to always be a tough one. The George Washington game's a game you got to win, and you should have won by 20. And honestly, we missed. It seemed like in the first half, every layup we took, every 3-pointer clanked. I think we were 2 for 22, our first 22 3-pointers in that game. It just was a weird game. And
Now, what about your other theory?
Which is
someone who was at both of those games.
Oh, yes. Okay, so you saw the pictures that I texted you. Okay, so I'm watching the TV broadcast on both games. And, we have 2 avid listeners to our podcast that are based in Vienna. They're we'll just call them R and J.
Well, we've mentioned D Hall before.
Okay, I didn't know
the whole possum
I
story.
didn't know if you want to call D Hall out publicly.
I'm calling D Hall out.
Okay, so D Hall and his lovely wife.
He's a 93 Spider like us.
Attended both games in person. They're both prominently featured on the camera, right? Because they're wearing the red behind the bench, not too far back. And at one point in time, I took a picture of them on the TV and I circled them with a little marker, and I sent it out to our friend group saying, I think we've got the Vienna voodoo working for both of these games, because the D Hall has brought the jinx on, but he has been in Richmond to watch us play, and we've won with him in the
that's
room.
right.
So I can't totally blame him, but on our away game, D Hall wearing red, don't go to the Henrico.
Hey,
tournament.
D Hall, next season you're banned from George Mason and George Washington. Just banned. You got to take a year off.
Should we tell him not to come to Henrico for the tournament?
No, you can come to Henrico.
Okay, so you're still in on the Henrico.
Yeah. Okay. Before we get into the men, I had this great podcast idea. We're not going to do this now, but it's inspired by, I don't know if you saw the story, Danica Mason, who is covering the Olympics for Australia. She was drunk on the air.
Yeah.
Was slurring words, was going in like a direction that was kind of odd. They blamed the cold. She has since apologized. And I'm like, why apologize? That's good content.
Yeah.
And maybe we need to do at some point, if this season keeps spiraling down, do we need to do a drunk episode?
Do a Falcon Smash episode?
Yeah, just some episode of if we're desperate for content, that's one way.
We had no guests today, folks, and we went 0-3, so there's only so much we can talk about. I will say this. Let me give you a couple things that were good. I mean,
you talking the men's game now?
No, the women's game. So Alicia had 5 offensive rebounds. Defensively, we looked okay against both teams. So the defense wasn't the problem. It was the offense in both games. Still 42 in the net. I don't think they're fatal. Obviously winning the A-10 tournament is still the preferred way of getting in, but our margin for error is.
We've talked enough about the 0 for 2.
Yeah, there you go.
So on the men's news, if you haven't seen, it sounds like Beagle might be out for the year, broke his finger hitting the backboard in the VCU game. He continued to play, but he's got that all kind of wrapped up. I don't think the school has declared him out for the year, but I think someone did on Twitter. But this is another game where we got down early again. Like, the good news, we've had 3 games in a row where we've looked at the end of the game in the second half, like we competed. These haven't been like blowout games. We can remember that Davidson home game, which was just an embarrassing output. But like, the team is starting off slow, then getting their act together, then competing and falling short.
Fighting back in the end, but coming up a little short.
Yeah. Aiden Argerbright was great.
Stellar.
Unfortunately, that last shot, just his toe was on the 3-point line, so we weren't able to tie it at the end. But it was a great move by him to get open. And Jalen Robinson had a block, a defensive play that was incredible during our run at the end, where someone came at him. He kind of went straight up, so there was no foul. And while he was straight up, he then blocked the shot. So, I mean, they're both keepers. I look forward to and hopefully seeing them next year, getting even more minutes in the Robins Center.
So I think the question is, and this is the question, you're starting to see it played out a little bit in the real press, because we're not the real press, we're the fake press.
Hey, we get press passes. We are the press.
We do have real press passes for an upcoming event that we're super excited about. But like the real press, John O'Connor wrote an excellent story on Richmond's being outspent in men's basketball by the leaders in the A-10. And so the question is, is it a matter of like more money fixes the last 2 years of performance, or is it the matter of the style that we play Mooney needs to adjust to fit the NIL portal era, or a combination of both? And I think that's the debate you're going to see play out at the university over the next several months. Because, like, you know, you can throw more money at it, but if the style is wrong, you know, are you going to find success, or, you know, do you tweak the style and throw more money at it and see, you know, better results? Because, you know, I think there's going to be some debates in terms of what do we have to adjust to have more success in the current era. Because I don't think, and I don't think this is a hot take, I think we're in the bottom 4 right now in the A10.
Yeah.
I don't think
it would be 3 out of 4 years if we end up in the bottom 4.
Yeah, I don't think we are going to win 5 straight games, which is, I think, what you have to do from the bottom 4 in the A10 tournament. I don't think we're going to win 5 straight games to make the
Well, just when you talk about the bottom 4, so we've got our next 2 games are against other teams in the bottom 4. We got St. Bonaventure again, and then Loyola Chicago. So those are 2 games like we have to win if you don't want to be bottom 4. So you win those 2. I'm not saying I think we will, but we win those 2. We have 6 wins, and then we have 2 games left, and it's Duquesne and Davidson are both in the top half, but neither of them are St.
It's not
Louis.
Davidson. We just played.
I'm sorry, Duquesne.
Okay.
Duquesne and Dayton. So they're both in the top half, but neither of them are St. Louis.
So you got to win one of those 2 games.
Yeah, I think if we win 2 against the bottom teams,
and then you win 1 against those top teams,
and then you win 1, then I think you're definitely not out of the bottom 4. I think 6 wins might get you out of the bottom 4 too. There's a bunch of teams now with 6, and I'm not sure if they're all going to win games out, but it's not looking good. I think it's like you said. Yeah, I think if we're in the bottom 4, it's not going to happen. And it's kind of the tough part where you're always hoping that your team can turn it on, and you've got this whole portal environment. Like we're not. I think there are times in the past where we've had a team that's underperformed, and by this point in time, like the time for the seniors is getting pulled down, and you're putting a bunch of time in developing your other players, your younger players. But we're not seeing that. I mean, Johnston's playing. I think he had like 36 minutes or something. The AJ's playing a ton, and AJ had a great scoring game. But it's unfortunate. Like, and Argerbright is playing more, but he's proving he needs to play more. This isn't. I don't think Mooney's throwing him a bone to give him more time out there. It's Mooney's trying to win every game.
He's your best player, honestly.
So,
and that's the analytics are backing that up too.
Yeah, so we'll see. I did. One thing I did feel good about. This is particular watching the games yesterday on TV. Both were on ESPN Plus. Boy, those announcers were awful. And so it made me feel good when
the volume was off on was it the men's game?
Yeah,
the volume was off on one of the 2 mics.
Yeah. So let's first talk about the GW game. That was on Monumental. Ryan Kerr.
That guy was a super fan, by the way. A super fan for GW.
And what I loved is he was obnoxious for no reason. He'd be like, "She shoots a 3!" And then she missed the 3. Like, he would say it while she was shooting it, and then she would miss. And so he's like loud.
Here's the thing I'll say. He was a super fan. Like, I mean, a super GW fan. Like, I've never heard that level of excitement by an announcer about his team. So to some degree, I was
excited when something exciting happens.
I know. Like, and then on the play at the end of the game where there was the bang bang play in overtime where the lady and Maggie collided, they called the foul for number 5 on Maggie, which, you know, may or may not have been the right call. I'm not here to complain about the officials. I've had a listener tell me I whine about the officials too much, so I'm not going to do that. But the guy was like, the announcer's like, well, that can't be a block. That can't be a block. He starts to go into like almost like you or I would, like on a live podcast where we're both, you know, maybe overextended on caffeine. And then after they called the block, the other announcer goes, you know, and I think it's a 1 shot. He goes, no, it's 2 shots, a 1-and-1. He's like, no, it's a continuation for the basket. And then all of a sudden they ruled the continuation for the basket, and he just erupted into glee.
She got a basket.
It was like
30 seconds after the basket was scored.
It was wild. So I agree with you. I thought that was a little, but look, I'll be honest, I didn't hate it. Like, I didn't hate it because the guy's a fan, man.
I just wish he'd be excited when exciting things happen.
I get
just screaming when someone shoots.
You know, the thing I appreciated was his passion for GW ladies basketball.
Okay. So Davidson, the sound production was awful. Greg Herenda is a former coach. He was kind of the color commentary guy. Big time volume issues. Like one was really loud. I got a little demonstration here of what it sounded like.
Basketball.
If I can do this right. Someone's like, okay, there's a shot, and he's like, boom, it's worth the price of admission. I think that was one of his lines.
I don't know how that's going to sound on the sound.
And then at some point he's like, Argerbright is as bright as the lights. That was one of his lines I wrote down. The funny thing, when he was teaching, because he's a coach, there were times where he was teaching, and I'm like, wow, he's a good teacher. That was an interesting comment.
Yeah.
But when he was trying to do like the hype man color commentary guy, I was just like,
Here's what I'll say.
Terrible. And the sound was really quiet or really loud.
Yeah,
really quiet.
I didn't mind his analysis at all. I thought he was actually very insightful. What bothered me immensely, because I got back late last night from a meeting and I had to watch both games before I went to bed so I could get ready to record today, to be released tomorrow. So my wife was trying to sleep while I was watching the men's game. And so I had it really quiet. And then all of a sudden he would start talking and she would jump because she was like trying to sleep. I'm like, okay, this isn't good. So yeah, the sound definitely caught me as they needed to fix that for sure.
A lot of boom. He liked boom.
Yes.
I can't remember where he coached. I looked it up. It wasn't that interesting.
He said he recruited Mooney, I think.
He recruited Mooney?
I thought I heard him say I recruited Chris or something like that. I thought he said that, but maybe I was wrong about that. I don't know. I was
but anyway,
writing and listening at the same time.
Do better, Davidson. Kind of get that sound production right. When you're going to be at ESPN Plus, like that's got to be your A game. Like it's one thing if you're on a local or just like on your we used to have Spider TV where you kind of it's only available if you pay for the Spider broadcast, and no one's doing that but Spider fans. Like if you're doing that, like whatever, but you're on ESPN Plus, man. There's got to be someone behind the scenes who's like, we got to fix that, and there's usually a dial that someone's got to turn to fix it. But anyway,
yeah, sound is hard. I don't do it. This guy over here does it for us, so I acknowledge it's hard, but he always ends up making everybody sound great, which I love, by the way. So good sound guy, definitely is worth his weight in gold, or her weight in gold.
Well, as I want to kind of give thanks everybody for the comments we got on having Kendall Anthony on. That was a lot of fun for us.
Great episode. What a nice young man.
If you haven't had a chance to see it, check it out. Super guy.
Thank you guys again for donating to Scott Unger's son Luke's charity. You can still do that, stbaldricks.org. Look up Luke's Army. We appreciate everybody who's donated. Thank you very much for that. Great story if you go back and you listen to the Scott episode, just about overcoming obstacles in life and, basically being a positive force even when life deals you the most unimaginably bad hand it could. And so definitely appreciate everybody who's said things that they appreciated that episode and that they've given.
So, we've talked for 22 minutes almost, and there's not much more to talk about. We do have games. We do have Spider Brews on Saturday. I know, Porter, you're not able to make it, but that'll be before the St. Bonaventure game. We got Spider Brews, so that's a good outing. Looking forward to that. And maybe we get a win after it. If not, I'll be loud if we lose.
Yes. So Spider's Brews is always an event worth going to. The beer is great. The food is good. And, it's great value too. So it's a great value for your money. And then Sunday we have a ladies game, right? In the Robins Center.
Yeah. We got another home game.
I'll be at that one.
I think both of these games are senior night as well.
Yep.
It's their kind of final weekend game. So, come out, enjoy, the seniors or one last time or close to the last time.
You can tell that we were both still a little rattled about the week's events, given that we didn't do a scout. We're just like, let's just roll with 20.
Well, we do have another guest coming up this weekend. I won't tell you any more about that, but another former player we're going to talk to this weekend if everything works out. And so if we have some good things about the games, we'll talk about those, but the focus will be kind of living in the past where this is the kind of time after an 0-3 week. Or an 0-3 start to the week, living in the past
helps us.
Is doing it right.
Absolutely.
But anyway, until next time, this is Tom.
And this is Porter.
And this is the Sad Spiders sounding off.